Hello and welcome, this is Zoltan with the first part of our architectural tutorial course with ARCHLine.XP, the BIM software. I'm going to teach you over the next couple of hours how to get from the first lines drawn in a BIM program all the way to creating models and documentation like you see on the screen. We are going to learn how to tackle the basic, most frequently appearing design challenges and how to put together sections, elevations and documentations like you see on here. And also for the more artistic minded, we are going to look at how to create stunning visuals to amaze your clients. Of course, time is too short to talk about every single thing ARCHLine has to offer, but I'm going to give you a good run with the basics. If you want to follow along the material that I'm teaching right here, you can go to our website and you can download all the content you see over there, including this video, of course, a PDF guidebook and all the project files that I'm using. The link for this free content is in the description. If you ever get stuck, you can go to our help center, link is also in the description, where you can find free articles and more learning content. So once you have finished this course, there are always other ways to learn to do other things in the software, but for that there are links everywhere in our website. So let's see how do we get from the beginning all the way to the things that you see on the screen. Let's get it going. So let's get going. This time we are going to work based on an existing DWG drawing. Of course, you can create your own building models, but for now we are going to use an existing drawing. But how do we get that into ARCHLine? First of all, let's open up a new project, which would give you a clean, brand new working environment. And now our task is to bring that data in a sort of linked way. So how do we do that? We go to File, Link, Link CAD Drawing, and here you can browse for the drawing with which you want to work, which would be a Latanova Start Ground Floor. Let's select it, hit Open. Now at this point, this opening dialog is something to talk about. First of all, we have a preview of the drawing which you are going to bring in. And here you can also interpret the units, which would allow you to scale the drawing. Now, do I have to scale it right now? We don't know that yet, but if I look at this handy ruler down here, which would automatically update whenever I zoom in and out, I see that it tells me how long a distance, for example, 5 meters would be, and that would give me a pretty good idea if I need to scale this drawing or not. So I'm going to decide not to scale it any further, accept it as it is, and hit OK. Now, at this point, the software asks me if I want to place the drawing with an automatic origin, which means that the previously set drawing origin would be preserved, or I want to use a new insertion point with a manual placement. So I'm just going to go with automatic. Now the drawing has appeared. Let's see what kind of content we have here. Of course, this is a line drawing with all the lines that you would expect from a CAD drawing. But the funny thing is that this drawing comes with its own layer settings. Let's look at that for a moment. We talked about layers before, but here's a handy tool. It's called Layer Walk. And with this, you can actually filter down your drawing content to the elements you want to work with. This is going to be very important later on. So you can select the whole thing and then the drawing is going to be restored. One thing I always like to do before I get going, before I get started with this drawing, is to check if the dimensions are correct at all, which you can do with this handy tool. It's under documentation and it's called measuring a distance. What I do, I can find 2 points. For example, I know for a fact how wide this door is. It should be 1.3 meters. And if it checks out in the drawing, I'm in the green. So now I can get going with turning this line drawing into a 3D model. Anytime, just a refresher, if you want to go back to optimal zoom, just double click with the mouse scroll. So the next task at hand is to turn this linked two-dimensional drawing into a 3D building model, starting with the basic building blocks, which would be walls. Now, when it comes to walls, it's under the building menu. If you click on the walls, you see that there are many different wall styles with multiple layers, even multiple presets, but we are going to talk about that at a later stage. For now, we are satisfied with working with a conceptual one-layered wall. With escape, you can terminate any command, by the way. So how do we turn these lines into walls? Now, it's a tricky task because we see that there are many different wall thickness values. So how do we get them all right? For this, we have a tool under the wall menu. It's called Walls on DWG Drawing. What you do is that you select the command and you click on the 2 ending points of the wall and click on the opposite face of the wall. And this way the software automatically finds the thickness and the length of the wall. Let's proceed with the other external walls and see how do we do that. Click on one of the ending points, close to the end actually. Go to the other ending point of the wall and click on the opposite face. And that way the software starts building up bit by bit the external walls. Let's proceed. I always like to zoom in so that way I can get the actual nodes like this. Now, you don't have to worry about the missing wall connections that you see over here because later on we can manage that. Not a problem. So click on the opposite face as well. Now, you notice I'm going clockwise. You can go clockwise, you can go counterclockwise. The point is that you always sort of be consistent with this one. So don't try to go all over the place. Find one direction and go in a circle. Now, click. I just only have a few walls missing. Click here, click there, and the drawing is now done as far as the external walls are concerned. Let's hit escape to terminate this command and go back to optimal zoom with a double scroll hit. Now I see that there are several problems with the wall connections. Now this is something you can amend using the T and L connections, which are under the quick access toolbar. Let's go with the L connection. How it works: select the command, zoom in on the problematic part of your drawing, click on one wall that you want to connect and click on the other wall you want to connect it into, like so. So now the connection is amended, and let's go all the way. Notice that when you are completing the same workshop, you might have these connections done correctly already, in which case, well done, but sometimes I have to amend my drawings like that. Okay, so now the external walls are done, but what happens with the internal ones? Next task is to actually work on the partition walls. The reason I'm discussing this separately is because this is when the wall on DWG feature really shows its power, because you don't have to care about the wall thicknesses. You just have to do the same thing as we did before, and the software would automatically recognize the thickness values, and based on that, it's going to give you the wall to the exact thickness and the exact length. Now, if I make any mistakes with the connections, that's alright. There's one mistake right over there, which I'm going to later on amend. And just click on the ending points and the thickness, and then the software would give you exactly what you need. Now, there's going to be one special case over here. I'm making a mistake here intentionally, so later on I can show you how to amend that, how to correct that. So click. Now, I think I have all the walls done correctly, but there are two issues. One is with the T connection over here. There's the connection missing. So just like the way I did this before with the L connection, this time I'm going to use the T connection. The way it works, I have to select the wall I want to connect into something, and I select the wall into which I want to connect. I see there's a mistake here as well, so I'm just going to do it like that, and then yes, they are already connected. So one other mistake I have is this wall over here. If I click on it, I see that it doesn't reach the actual drawing, so it finishes before it should. So how you can amend that? Click on the wall, and then you see the nodes, the markers appearing. And clicking on this node over here, you can have access to this tool which we call change length. And if you click on that, you can either use a numerical value to overextend the wall, or you can just drag the mouse and snap to the point where it should go. Okay, neat. I think I have the whole drawing now. Let's go back to optimal zoom. But the issue here is that all the walls are having these brownish and white colors. This is because based on the presets of this wall, it has an exterior and an interior covering, which we want to make uniform. We want all the walls to be white on the inside and outside. How do we do that? It's very simple. You just have to select the whole drawing like so, and then you see that all the walls are selected. What is the reason why the DWG underlay is not selected? It's because it's a linked drawing. If you import it, then it's going to be selected as well. But this time we only have the walls. So what I do, I go to the properties and I say, instead of trying to find the right material, I'm just going to say same material on both sides, and then the software colors everything white. Let's stop here for a second to discuss layers a bit. Now, you might know that everything you do in ARCHLine is going to be put onto a layer by default. If you click on any of the walls, you see that it's going to be on a wall, load-bearing wall layer. Similarly, if you click on any other elements, you see which layers they belong to. But here's an issue with our drawing right now. Walls are, of course, these ones are on the load-bearing wall layers, but if I select any partition walls, they also belong to the load-bearing wall layer. Now, this is because when you create a wall, you define a style for it, and the partition wall simply inherited the style settings, and now it's on the load-bearing wall layer. But this you can change. If you have any of the elements selected, you go to the layer settings, you can just find the layer onto which you want to position your element and click on that layer. And from now on, if I click on the wall, you see that it's on the, let me just make the property grid a bit larger, it's on the partition wall layer. Okay, that's fine. But what happens if you want to change the layer setting of more than one walls? What happens if you want to have all these partition walls put onto the partition wall layer? Now, of course, you can go around and click on them, or you can use the selection rectangle, but sometimes your drawing is a bit too dense for that. And for this, we are going to use filters, rule-based filters. You can find them down here under the settings, and if you go to filter, you see that here you can filter the elements of your drawing down to the smallest particles. Now, here's what we do. First of all, we set up that the discipline is going to be an architectural elements one, and I want to filter for walls. And the common element based on which I'm going to filter them is going to be their thickness, because the only thing I know about these walls is that they are thinner than the load-bearing walls. Now, under the name of the property to which I want to filter, I'm going to use total thickness, and I add it as a searching criteria, and I have to set up what the operative would be. I'm going to say that the thickness should be not more than 150 millimeters. And let's just say OK. And now what happens? All the partition walls which are thinner than, or not thicker than 150 millimeters, namely this a few walls and this one and that one, are now selected. So what I do, I can go to now the layer settings and find the layer setting that I want. So now if I select any of the other walls, I see that they are on the partition walls. Simple as that. Next task is to add the doors for my drawing. Now I see that in the imported DWG I have the placeholders for the doors, so my task would be to retrace the drawing and use this as references to create three-dimensional doors that I can actually open and close. Now, here's how I get started. First I need to predefine the door styles I want to work with. So I go to Building, Properties, Opening, Door. Now, this brings up this menu. I can define the width and the height of the doors, but the width I'm not going to mess with because the width is going to be given by the drawing itself. The height is, I'm satisfied with the 2.1 meters, the 2100 millimeter height. Distance from wall line, I'm going to decrease this to 0, and the reason why I do that, I want the wall to be fit perfectly into the partition walls, which are exactly 100 millimeters thick. Next thing I have to change is actually the material, because I'm not satisfied with this, I think it's beech, yes it's beech, so I need to change this to something else. Here's how you change materials to any of the elements on your drawing. Click on the value here, and from this list, you can go back to materials and you can find from this list what you want to work with. Now, of course, there's this structure for materials, so if you know in which folder you have what you need, then you can just browse until you find the one that you need. But I'm not really sure where my material is, so I'm just going to type it up here. So the material I'm going to work with is called wood paldao, so I'm just going to type in the keyword, and now I have the material here. Select it, hit OK, and now the solid material is changed, and now all I have to do is change the wing material. But do I need to go back to all these lists? Well, not that much. If you just click on the material for the wing, then the software takes you to this folder called Materials in Model. And here now I see the material which I have set up, because once you have added a material to your model, then that texture would be available for later use in the In Model folder. Having said that, let's click on it and select it. We are good to go, so now it's time to use this door on our drawing. Having defined our door, it's time to position it. The tool we are going to use for that is similar to the wall on DWG drawing. let's first hit OK to accept the current settings for the door, and then let's go to the building door menu and go with door by 2 points. Now what this does is that you can actually track the drawing and find the 2 endpoints of your door and define the opening direction, and then you can just resketch your whole drawing. So let's see that in action. I hover my mouse over an existing drawing of a door, click on one of the ending points, one of the frames, start dragging the mouse, and find the opposite corner of the door. Click again, that was a second click, and with the third one, I find the optimal opening direction, which should be here. Here we go. You see in the 3D as well that the drawing just got its door. Now, this tool stays active, so I can just keep on going with the next door and the next one. So let's just hit here, there, third click over here. So that one's done. All right. Let's terminate that command for a second with escape, and I just noticed that there's one drawing issue. Maybe on your end there's none, because maybe you just managed to hit that corner a bit better than I did. So if I ask you how to fix that, your answer would be with the T connection. So hit the wall, hit the other wall, and there you go. All right, let's go back to the door by 2 points tool and proceed with our work. One corner point, here's the next one. Opening direction is inside, there you go. And I think there are, there are 3 more doors, but they are special cases. One is the entrance door, which is a bit different type than what we have activated here. The other curious case is this double door, and there's one sliding door. Now, how do we proceed with that? Well, what I usually do is that I keep the door model as it is and just resketch this double door as well, and later on I'm going to change it into an actual double door model. And I do the same thing with the entrance door, like so. All right, so how do I change this entrance door to an actual? There are actually 3 pieces of data I need to change for this door. First of all, I need to change how it looks like. I need to change its distance from wall line, and I need to change its height. So let's proceed with these elements one by one. So first, let's go to the pencil icon and go to this tab where I can find a different model for the same door. And the one what I'm going to use is called flush one side fixed. Let's select it, hit OK. Now the software asks us, do we want to set the previously set, do we want to keep the previously set dimensions? Yes, we want, because we don't want to discard the width value. So I'm just going to say yes. I need to preserve the width, but the height, I'm going to change it to 2400 millimeters. Let's hit redraw to get the new dimensions updated. And the distance from wall line, it should be, let me use my cheat sheet for a second, should be 100 millimeters. Okay, and now the drawing has just created the very same door type that I started with. Okay, let's proceed with the other special case, which is the double door over here. Now, if I select it, I do the same thing. I go to the pencil icon, click on the door selector, and I need to go back to the indoor main tab and find the double door, which should be flush internal double. Now, I want to keep the previously set dimensions, but there's one thing I have to change. The thickness will be updated to 150 millimeters, which I need to decrease to 100 millimeters. And once I did that, I hit OK, and now my double door is there. Let's navigate there in the 3D as well, so I can see it nicely taking shape. Alright, so the last door which I need to position here is this very special sliding door. And before I position that, let me just find it in the properties. So I go back to building, properties, opening, door, and I go back to the door selector. And let's assume that I'm not really sure where that door is in my folder structure, so I need to look for it. And I know that the name for it should be glass sliding door. Here we go. Let's hit OK. And I can play around with the dimensions, but the width again is not important because this drawing is going to give me that width. The thickness is also alright, but the distance from wall line is something that I have to change into 50 millimeters. Here we go. Alright, so now I predefine the door, and what I do, I go to door by 2 points, hover my mouse over the door. I want to resketch one corner point, hit the next one, and then I define that the door is going to be opening up north, like so. And now optimal zoom again here and here as well. All my doors are okay. Let's proceed with the windows. Positioning windows will be done in a similar fashion. But before we actually talk about that, here's a side note, something that is very neat and interesting to use in our software. If you want to show your clients how your drawing looks like at this point, there's a very clever way of showing how the doors would function, and this would actually reveal collisions as well. So if you select the 3D and click on any of the doors you have, there's this special little tab over here. If you click on it, there's going to be a door animation shown. So this way you can test your doors, and you can even make interactive walkthroughs to show your clients how the doors would be opening. So let's move to the topic of windows. Now, they are going to be placed in a similar fashion with 2 points on this drawing, but there's going to be one special thing about that, and that is the sill height, which we also have to predefine. So again, we go to Properties, Opening, Windows, and I need to find the proper window type for this building project, which would be a fixed window, and I have the name right here, so you can just type it in and look for that. It's called divided frame, should be 1x equal. Here we go. That's it. Okay. Now again, width, height, with the width, I don't want to do anything with. Height is okay as it is. Thickness needs to be decreased to 110 millimeters, and the distance from wall line, that's okay like that, but the sill height should be zeroed out. So once I have these elements set up, the only thing I have left, actually 2 things, is materials for the body and for the sills. So what I do, I go to the solid material, click on it, and I already have the wood pile that was set up in my model library. So let's just hit OK. Now I see that the model just updated, and I have interior and exterior sills, which if I click on this tab, I have access to. So you can set up how the sills look like, but the only important thing here is that you can change that setting to be reflecting that same wood paldao material. So once I hit OK, it's time to retrace the drawing and add the windows over there. So what I do, I go to Window. Similarly to doors, I have a window by 2 points tool over here, and I can just click on the drawing like that, click, and now the window appears in my drawing. Let's proceed with the other windows. So again, click, and the window just appears like that. So there's a couple of more windows over here. So let's just trace all of them. Let's just hit click. Here's the next one. And there's a third one over here. Here we go. So now there's a couple here more. So let's just do like that. There's going to be a special case over here. There's going to be a corner window. So that's going to be another challenge for us to tackle, but we can do that, no worries. So click. So now I think I'm done with all my windows. Let's just put the 3D into zoom, and the next logical step would be to actually link up these 2 windows, because I don't like the way they are separated. I want to have a nice, neat corner window like the one you see in the 2D. So how do I do that? There's actually one very neat tool for that. It's called corner window. So it's going to be a window on wall corner and join 2 openings on the wall corner. Now here's an interesting thing. I have already defined the width of these windows. So what happens if I join them together? Are they going to be moved? Are they going to be resized? Let's see. So let's click on joining up 2 openings and click on one window and click on the next one, and they are linked up. Now this is neat. The 2 windows preserved their width and they were snapped together, but that also meant that they were moved away. So how do I compensate for that? I click on the window, and I have the nodes right here to actually change the size of the window. So I do right that. And now the window is going to be moved back to its original, not back to its original position, but I'm going to now compensating for the changes that I've done. So this way you can fine tune your corner window. There's one thing missing actually, and that is the mullion between the 2. So what I need to do, I need to find the window to which this mullion belongs to. And I hit the pencil icon, and I'm going to go to built-in details, and here I can change the mullion material to wood paldao as well. Let's hit OK. And now my model has all the doors and windows it needs. Our next task is to set up the slab for this drawing. Now, before I place it, I like to define the certain properties of the slab, materials, for example. You can define that later on, but it's always, I like to do that before I place anything. So I go to Properties, and I find the tab called Structure, and here I have the Slab tab. And the only thing actually what I want to set up is the materials, because on the top material, I want to have a different texture. I don't need this one, so I click on the tab where I can set that up, and I'm going to look for a material called parquet rover, which should be number 3. Here we go, hit OK, and the side material should be bright white so that it would be looking the same way as the walls. So again, I go to the selector and select something from my model. Here we go. I don't care about the underside, so let's hit OK. And how do I position the slab under this drawing, under these walls? So I don't need to track the drawing this time. All I need to do, I just have to go to slab and go with slab by walls and select the whole drawing with a selection rectangle. Click again, and now the drawing is selected, and if I hit enter, the slab is going to be created. Now, once the slab is created here, the next thing I have to care about is this slab on the outside. Now, this is something I cannot position with an automated measure, because I don't have anything to automate it to. There are no walls outside, so I need to create the slab by nodes. But before I do that, let's just go back to Properties, Structure, Slab, and change the materials, because this is going to be an external material. So this should be something like a concrete material. Concrete 3 is good enough. And if I hit this tab, then all the sides, even the sides and the underside, is going to be concrete. So I don't have to change them manually. I just link them up together. All right, so let's hit OK. And now what I need to do, I go to Slab. I go with Slab in sketch mode, and I'm going to track the lines over here. And if I do it correctly, just let's click on the nodes, and I hit enter to finish my command. I have a very nice slab on the outside, like so. Once I have created the slabs, the next step would be to add the ramp, because if you look at the 2D, you see that there's some part here in front of the building. This is actually where a sloped slab or a ramp should be. Now, there are many ways to create this, but I would like to use the tab until the building ramp tool, and here I can just go for a straight run ramp, find the starting point and find the ending point of my ramp. Now, if I create it, you see that it's narrower than it should be, and it's not in the right position. But that's fine. This is something you can amend later on. So if I select my element I want to work with, I can just click on the side and offset it until it's as wide as it should be. Now, the width is okay, but now it extends into the flat, and the position is not good. Let's start with the position. How do I fix that? Every single ramp has a marker which shows the current inclination. If you click on the marker, then I get into this menu where I can define the base level, the top level, and the inclination. So the way I define a ramp is like so. Let's assume that you know that the base level is minus 300 millimeters, and this is where the ramp starts from, and it goes all the way up to 0. So what I do, I go to base level is fixed, inclination angle or top level is editable, so I go to the top level and I say this is 0. Now if I do that, the ramp is going to be by default flat because it starts from 0 and it goes to 0 with an inclination of 0 degrees. So I now go to the third tab, top level is fixed, inclination angle or base level is editable, and the bottom I'm going to change it to minus 300. So let's hit OK, and now my ramp looks the way it should be. So it has a nice inclination of 5.2, 26 degrees. So what happens then? I need to edit the nodes over here because I don't like the way it extends into my house. So let's just go to the 3D and move into another way so that you can see the problem over here. So you see that it's actually overlapping with the slab. That's not good for many reasons. So going back to the 2D, select the ramp and click on the sides until you find this tool. It's called Insert Node, and I'm going to keep on clicking until I insert as many nodes as I need to, because that's the only way to sort of like cut out of the ramp, and the resulting shape should be something like this. If you know any CAD tools, this move node, offset, etc. tools would be very familiar to you. So let's put this into perspective. Here we go. So this is where we are now, and let's proceed with the model and add some multi-layered walls. Our model came a long way, but it's still a conceptual one, meaning it doesn't really have the necessary details. One of these details could be a multi-layered wall structure. I see that my drawing has only one layered walls, and this is something I have to amend. So let's highlight the wall, go to the pencil icon, and here I go to edit compound walls, and here I have multiple settings based on which I can build a wall of many different structural or insulation layers. So what I need to do first, I need to duplicate the existing layer. So I go to this green plus icon, and now I have two layers. Both of them are 300 millimeters. The one on the outside should be 100 millimeters. Here we go. And I need to change the material to, I think like thermal insulation should be the appropriate one. Oh, thermal goes with an H. So let's just do like that. Here we go, thermal insulation. And the hatch pattern should be not stone wall, but something else. Let's hit edit. Go to the hatch pattern setup and find the one which fits our purposes. In this time, it's going to be a thermal insulation. Here we go. Now I see that the preview is pretty fine, but there's one thing missing, and that is the function. I need to define which one of my wall layers is the core layer, and I need to find the priorities over here. So if I want to make this one prior, then I do it with this button. So I'm satisfied with my current setup. I hit OK, OK again, and I see that now my wall here is taking up a very nice external layer. There are two issues at this moment. One is that if I add additional layers, then the corner window needs to be amended, but that's the least of my problems. The most important concern right now is how do I duplicate this current setting to all of my walls? So how will we copy the layer structure of this single wall all the way onto the other walls? Now, there are one way to do it. Of course, you could select the walls one by one and recreate the layer structure, but that would be time consuming. So instead, we are going to go with a tool which is called copying properties. So let's select the wall and go all the way up here, and there's this tab in the quick access toolbar. It's called copy properties. Now here I can choose the properties I want to copy. This could be the height values, thickness values, material properties, but I'm just going to check all of them, making sure that I pick up everything. And now all I need to do, I just go in a circle and highlight the walls that I want to copy the properties onto. Of course, I could use the rule-based filters that I taught you before, but this is also a way to do it. So let's just select all the walls, including this one, hit enter, and then the software tracks all the walls and applies the new layer structures onto it. And there's one peculiar case, which I mentioned before, this corner window. So do I need to create the corner window again? Well, I don't need to, but there's one thing I need to amend. I need to get rid of this this extra part of layer over here. So I do that by selecting the window and clicking on the node. And instead of changing the size, I am resizing the void. The void is the gap in which the window is positioned. So I'm just going to hit this and move the node until I hit this corner over here. I need to do this from the other window as well. So again, I select the window and I'm just going to hit the node and resize the void until I hit to this corner. So this way, this connection is solved as well. So now I have a multi-layered structure with all the doors, windows selected, and we are almost done with creating the first floor. So we are almost done with the ground floor. One vital thing missing is the staircase. There's a way to track the existing drawing and turn it into a three-dimensional staircase. Let's get familiar with that. So under building, we have the stair menu, and here you can find what kind of staircase you want to work with. You have to define the basic shape, which will be an L form with a landing. So let's select that. and click on the starting point of the staircase. Let's drag the mouse, and we see that now we found a corner point where I want to break the staircase, but it's actually would be created below the point that I selected. I want to move the staircase up north from the reference line. So I do that by hitting the F5 key, which would flip the staircase like so. So now click on this corner point and click on the end point. So now the software creates a very, well, I would say rudimentary basic staircase over here. There's several things what are not okay with this, but I can change that later on. So if I select the staircase, I go to the pencil icon, and here I have a bunch of properties I can change. Now, the first thing I have to change is the actual height of the staircase, because it should be definitely higher than 1800 millimeters, but how high should it be? Now, of course, if you know how high you want the staircase to be, that you can type in the values, or you can just say, take the floor height into consideration. Let's now hit OK with this one and see what happens. The software would extend the staircase all the way to the next level, but how does the software know where the next level is? Let's get familiar with the floor structure. If I activate the 2D, I can go here into this ground floor marker, and I see that I have several floors. I haven't set these up. The software set up these 4 floors automatically when I open this project. You can override that, but this basically tells you how many floors you have. You can of course add or distract floors from it, and also very importantly it tells you how high the floors are. You can modify that of course, but when you decide that the staircase should be following the floor's height, this is where that value is coming from. Okay, let's close this for a second and go back to the staircase and continue editing. So the height is now okay. There are some values here which are actually red, and some are editable, some are not. Now, the reason why these things are red is because the software tells you that, okay, based on these values that you have submitted, I can draw the staircase, but it might not be ergonomic. So we can create that for sure, but it's not going to be very convenient to walk on it. One thing we have to set up is we have to make sure that the last step is actually meeting the slab above it. This is going to be relevant later on. And there's a couple of values over here which I have to take care of. First of all, I have to say that first I have to define the number of steps for both sides. So I know that this value, it should be a number of 3 steps, but this one, 9 is not enough because there's a huge gap over there. So we have to make sure this is 13 steps. Now, once I have typed in anything, the software thinks for a second and recalculates the whole staircase. Now I see that this red value is turned into a white one, so now this is ergonomic. So if you keep on going, the software would be recalculating the staircase all the time and giving you the best possible result. Now let's proceed with the width of the staircase, which is not wide enough because there's a gap over there. It should be 1200 millimeters. Let's keep on going. So now recalculation is done. There's one thing which is not okay, and this is this gap over here. So I need to make sure that this value is actually reflecting sort of like what, so that should be a line over here. That's what I'm trying to say. I need to unlock this value over here and type in the proper value, which should be 4800. And that would give me the actual result what I need. So the rest of the values should be okay as they are. Let's hit OK. And now I see that there's a very nice staircase over there with one issue over here, and that is that there's a wall which is extending through my staircase. Now, the important thing is that in ARCHLine, stairs are in interaction with the walls which they meet. So you can actually ask the stair to cut the wall. How do we do that? We go to back to the stairs properties, and we go to this tab called support, and here you can decide how the cut rules should be. Do I need a staircase to cut the walls? Yes, I do, on its own floors. So let's say on floor, hit OK. But seemingly nothing happened. Well, this is because in certain cases in ARCHLine, the 3D creation is sort of like a transactional thing. If ARCHLine were to refresh the 3D all the time, then the software would keep thinking, and that would take up a lot of processing power from the CPU. So instead of updating all the changes, in certain cases you decide if you want to update the changes or not. How does that actually look like? Well, let's activate the 3D like so, and click on this 3D hammer down here. And if you click on it, then the software rebuilds the whole model and realizes this change. So now this nice wall which was under the staircase is now cut, and the software created the stair that I actually need. Now that the staircase is done, let's do some cleaning up in the 2D. Let's focus on the 2D window for a second. And zooming in, we see that there's some duplication in the staircase symbol. Now, this is because we have two symbols on top of each other. First, we have the DWG drawing, the original drawing of the staircase, which was just a bunch of lines. And on top of that, we have the 2D symbol of the actual staircase. So how do we clean this up? Now, we can go here and find the layer walk, which gives us all the layers that we currently have in the drawing. And then just hitting on the control key, we can just click on any of the layers that we don't want. And this is how we turn it off. Let's hit OK, and now the staircase symbol is better. Another thing we have to do about the staircase is that I'm not really fond of this material, so let's just see. I want to change the steps material to this wood paldo one. So let's just hit the staircase, go to properties with the pencil icon, go to the tab support, and here when it comes to the threads, you can just click on the material and either find the wood paldo in the material list, or just type it in, hit enter, and then click on the material, hit OK, OK again, and the material is now changed. So we're good to go.